All right, you guys ready? Good job. Good evening. I'm going to call I'm going to call to order the Bloom-Carroll Local School District Board of Education meeting on Monday, March 11th, 2024. Mr. Bigham.
Mr. Abbott.
Present.
Mrs. Bender.
Present.
Mr. Bratton.
Present.
Mr. Johnson.
Present.
Mrs. Sherman.
All right, number 3, Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 4, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
No, I did not see.
There's no addendum that needs to be added, according to Mr. Hahn. No questions. May I please get a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Abbott, second by Mr. Bratton. Mr. Bigham?
Mr. Abbott.
Yes.
Mr. Bratton.
Yes.
Mrs. Bender.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes. Number 5, approval of the minutes from the following meeting. I did not see any mistakes or any questions on my part. Did anybody have any?
I did not. I looked through it. I didn't see any either.
Okay. May I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Abbott, second by Mrs. Bender. Mr. Bigham?
Mr. Abbott.
Yes.
Mrs. Bender.
Yes.
Mr. Bratton.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes. All right, number 6, public participation. Mr. Rozeski and the elementary updates are going to be up first.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to highlight the math for grades 3 to 5. This year in our grades 4 to 5, they started with some math stations where the teachers were presenting a lesson and they were breaking the kids up into different groups where they may work with the teacher, have an independent workstation. One group may start on the homework, and they kind of just have rotated during that math block. In 5th grade, some of the classrooms were able to extend their math time by about 15 minutes to provide that intervention support for kids as well. We're also, this year we did trial membership with Math IXL. It's an online math program. It works on math fluency and all the other components of the math as well. We've been using Success Maker, but we were still seeing some gaps in kids, and fact fluency is really a hard, kids need that fact fluency in order to help with those higher level math skills and all that, and the IXL program does allow for that and has a good practice part. The teacher's able to go in there and actually target specific skills for students, so you can individualize it as well. And we're gonna pilot again next year, and it also came with reading, science, and social studies as well. So teachers will have access to those as well, not necessarily that they have to use them, but it's something that they can use as well, so as an additional resource. Any questions on the math piece?
Okay.
For reading, currently for Title I, Ellen Craner is our Title I teacher, and this year in 3rd grade we implemented Haggerty. It's a phonemic awareness, basically a quick drill, which is between 5 and 10 minutes every day. And there's also a bridge which she is using in the Title I classroom. She also is implementing foundations as well. So she's doing about 3 days of that foundations work, and then 2 days still working with that comprehension and the other components of reading as well. And what we do is to identify our kids at the beginning of the year. We look at the end of the year MAP scores from the 2nd grade, and we kind of target those kids that maybe were at risk. And real interesting, when we did this dyslexia screener at the beginning of the year, the students that were identified at our level were already in a Tier 2 intervention from day 1, which was good that they were getting that support from the very beginning. It just kind of confirmed some of the things that we were seeing in the classroom as well. And we lucked out. We had a total of 5 kids identified with that. So, and all 5 were getting a Tier 2 intervention. And then just our other kids that were struggling in 2nd grade, they were already getting support from Ellen, or if they had an IEP, they were getting that Tier 2 support as well. Let's see. And what she does with she also has a group of 4th graders where she's using just words with them and also doing that comprehension work. And those were some of our 3rd graders that were still struggling at the end of last year. So she pulls one group every day as well. Next year, I thank you guys ahead of time for adding that reading specialist. That reading specialist is going to get trained in Norton Gillingham and Wilson. And what I see next year when we look at the 3-5 window, when we look at our kids in 3 to 5 that have areas of struggle in reading, we may say this third grader would benefit from Orton Gillingham, this one may need Wilson, this one may need the foundations, but really looking at our kids and really being specific where we put them for an intervention, and having 2 reading specialists allows us to have that. So I thank you guys ahead of time for seeing that need and supporting it as well. Any questions on reading or anything?
So the reading specialists actually determine which direction we go, or
What we will do is when we assess the kids, and we'll look at the end of the year data from this year and also the beginning, and look at those kids that maybe were struggling and saying, you know, these 4 kids would really benefit from this specific intervention, and it may be, maybe they need Wilson, or those 5 kids would benefit from Orton Gillingham. You know, these kids may just need that foundations work and the comprehension work as well. But really looking at those kids that are flagged on assessments and determining the best path for them to go. Yeah. Any other questions?
You guys do a great job, I know. Mrs. Craner, she does a fantastic
Yeah.
job, so.
And I'm excited to have another person with that next year, so, yeah. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks,
Have a
Steve.
great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, for moving on with our public participation, we have Jacqueline Cook. Which one is it? Okay.
Either of them.
All right, I've heard it pronounced both ways.
I
thought I'd
answered all
try.
of them, it doesn't really matter. All right, thank you for letting me speak today. From 2010 to 2022, there have been 272 elementary school shootings and 121 middle school shootings. That's 393 school shootings since the 5th grade class was born. In 2023, there were 346 total school shootings K through 12. The 2 highest states that had the highest number of incidents were California and Ohio, both having 25 incidences. As I was doing the research for this discussion today, the common theme of the articles or the accounts of the incidences were, we saw signs, but we didn't think it was serious. As I am sure you are aware, last month there was threats made towards a group of 5th grade boys. First there was a verbal threat, and then there was a social media threat, and it was only a partial of a screenshot of a conversation. My son was on that list where it said they would be dead. I could go through all the details of what happened and how that did, but for time purposes, I'll just get to the reason why I'm here. The social media post with the threat only came to light when a student sent it to my son. But what's incredibly concerning is that the student who sent it to my son went to the principal first. He dismissed that without even looking at the message or doing a further investigation. He didn't take it serious. The next morning, I called to get my son's homework, and the teacher and the staff had no idea what was going on. At the time, the investigation was still it only started a few hours prior, and it was unknown if it was a real act or a plan to have an act or if anybody else was involved. At that time, the staff did not know what was going on. They weren't even made aware. They should have been put on high alert in case anything else would be thrown off or seemed suspicious. They didn't take it serious. I, along with a few other parents, went and spoke to Mr. Hahn about the safety of our students. Mr. Hahn stated that the elementary staff was overwhelmed and didn't know how to handle the situation. Mr. Hahn implied they didn't know what to do because elementary school shootings are not that common. 272 shootings in elementary schools in 11 years seems a little bit more common than was let on. He didn't think it was serious. Mr. Hahn went on to state that Bloom-Carroll complies with the state requirements for active shooter drills. My understanding through multiple resources that every year there's a tabletop or round table activity. The second year, a planned walkthrough, but without students' involvement. And then the third year is an active shooter drill that is live with the students. That is the minimum. There are children in each school that have never gone through an active shooter drill at their current school. They don't know what this sounds like. They don't know the routine. They don't know how serious and important it is. Why are we settling for the bare minimum of safety? It costs no more to do the active shooter drills. Why not do it every year at the very least? I spoke with a few teachers in the surrounding communities, and they said they all do them every year. I spoke with teachers in our own school district, they asked not to be named, who stated that they also do not feel that the school is taking all the precautions that are necessary. Multiple teachers have asked for things such as a special door lock and special door blockings, and they were denied. I was also told by a BC employee that the Fairfield County Sheriff's head resource officer offered to bring a third-party company in to review the school's safety plans and protocols, and that was denied. It sounds to me like BC doesn't take this serious. Most of you sitting here today have students that are current. Do you feel confident that your child is safe in the school? Do you feel confident that the staff is fully trained and know what to do in an active shooter situation? Do you feel that your child understands the importance of reporting and what to do in a possible threat? School board members, why are we settling for the bare minimum? I implore you to not allow our school to be another school that didn't take it serious. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Scott Green.
Good afternoon. I would like to address the fees that we have to pay, particularly in like sports and a lot of things here, all the extracurricular activities. One, we pay property taxes, which I pay a sizable amount. And then just, we have to pay to play, which I think is obnoxious. So I have to pay $100 per season for my son to do sports. Plus we have to pay for uniforms, like I have to buy my son some windbreaker outfit. I think that's ridiculous. It's a lot of money. You know, if I gotta spend, if my son's doing 3 sports, that's $300 alone there, plus whatever uniform stuff. Just kind of, why do we have to do that when we pay property taxes? 2, where's our property taxes going? Or if we are raising money at the concessions, where does that go? I don't think it's necessary. I'd be willing to pay a little bit more if I was getting top tier coaching for our students, but we're not getting top tier coaching. So like I'm paying a premium price here and I'm getting like McDonald's level of service. I think we need to review those, especially with the economy still in a dumpster fire. I don't think most people are willing or able to pay those fees in the first place. At a minimum, the uniform should be free. When I went to school in high school, middle school, and elementary school and played sports with school, varsity or JV, all uniforms and equipment were provided minus my running shoes. I don't see why in 2024, maybe I'm in a different school district and it's just different here, why that can't be the same. So I would appreciate if you guys consider that. I think we should definitely do away with pay to play. That sounds horrible anyways, and maybe remarket that at a minimum. But that's all I would like to say. I appreciate what you guys do. I know this job is not glamorous. I do appreciate all you guys, you know. So you guys have a good night. I do have to leave. I got a council meeting that I got to make it to, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I march out of here, but you guys have a good night. Looking forward to a response to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Moving on to number 7, Treasurer's Recommendations and Reports. Mr. Bigham.
Thank you. Item A is approved the January financial statements for a total expense of $12,560,069.39, including $9.864 million in consortium expenses. All of my reports and the things I want to review are actually in item B, so unless there are any questions on A, we can move on to vote.
Any questions? Yeah, no questions, Mr. Bigham, on that. May I please get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bratton, second by Mr. Abbott.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mrs. Bender?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Item B is approve the February financials for a total expense of $12,989,941.39, including $9.991 in consortium expenses. I did add one extra page here to to kind of mesh it all together in one financial report. Is the results of our audit. This, again, on the February financials, it's the first page after the cover. You had all gotten an email. Again, I apologize, so it just comes, without warning for obvious reasons, but with the report, we also have a management letter, which is not part of the report. There was one recommendation in the management letter, but as far as what's included in the report, I have the summary that's obviously also in your electronic packet up here. An unmodified opinion, which is another name, really another word for clean. No noted areas of deficiencies in internal controls. No issues with federal programs, which is always a big thing that they look at and spend a lot of time and resources on. And no other issues to be found. So very happy with the results of the audit. It's not just a financial audit within my office. They're looking at food service transactions, athletic transactions, special education, IEPs, protocols we have in place, student absences. They look at each building, they take certain student absences and make sure that we have the necessary medical documentation, which, so in all of those areas, again, I compliment our staff for another year. That's the good news. This is just an audit through June 30th of 23, so it'll be back before we know it. But again, just didn't want you to just get an email from the auditor and not go over the audit a little bit more detail here at a public meeting. The next part of this is what you're more used to seeing here for February. And again, I combined January and February to try to be succinct here. But in January, we got our third of our fourth installment of the income tax, and you can see the increase there of 8% gross, as well as 8% on the current withholding, which is good news. Our first couple of collections were below what we have forecasted, so this catches us up a little bit, not all the way, but certainly another good sign as we move in here to the 2/3 through the fiscal year. And also in February, we get the semi-annual casino revenue distribution, which comes directly to schools, which is almost $76,000 there for a half year. So extrapolating that over a full year, that revenue is unrestricted, and so it covers about 2.5 teaching positions as we could receive those distributions semi-annually. And actual expenditures had through February 29th, very close, a little bit lower than our forecasted, so we're in good shape. Again, as we go through the last 1/3 of the fiscal year. Current carryover a little bit over $8.8 million. Any questions on the audit or the January, February financials?
That's great, though. I mean, being where we're at, going into the last 3 months,
Yeah.
we're in a pretty good position. I mean, if anything pops up, so good job.
Thank you.
Any questions from Mr. Bigham about the audit? All right. Seeing none, may I please get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Abbott, second by Mrs. Bender. Mr. Bigham?
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mrs. Bender?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
And finally, item C is approve the amounts and rates as determined by the Fairfield County Budget Commission, authorize the necessary tax levies and certify them to the county auditor. We've already gone through these in January, but the county auditor has now certified them, and the board needs to certify them in order for the auditor to authorize the auditor to collect these rates on our behalf. 20 mils in our general fund, 6.10 in our bond retirement, and our permanent improvement levy again remained at 0.78 effective mils.
Any questions? Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
I'll second this one. Motion made by Mr. Bratton, second by Mr. Johnson. Mr. Bigham?
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mrs. Bender?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bigham. Appreciate the updates. All right, number 8, old business. Approve the following policies. as presented, 1 through 3. And then, got a voting line there, so may I please, get any questions in regards to the policies that we're enacting? All right. May I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Mrs. Bender, second by Mr. Bratton. Mr. Bigham?
Mrs. Bender?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes. All right. B, approve the following calendars as presented at the February 7th, 2024 calendar hearing. Did anybody have any questions? Obviously, we held the February meeting early last month for the calendars so we could get these approved. Any questions in regards to those calendars? Did you want to add anything to that, Mr. Hall?
There's no changes. We had a
Okay.
hearing last month on all 3, and we went over those. We've had no feedback, no concerns, nothing positive, nothing negative. They're pretty standard when you look at our holidays and our fair breaks and winter breaks and those types of things. So, contractually, teachers have 185 days. We need to get professional development days in there, work days in. We're certainly above the minimum number of hours that the state requires. So we work with the association to put the calendars together, and we're able to meet a lot of the criteria that they were hoping to see too.
All right, great. Any questions? Hearing none, may I please get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bratton, second by Mr. Abbott. Mr. Bigham?
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mrs. Bender?
Yes.
And Mr. Johnson?
Yes. All right. C, approve amending the 2-hour early release on April 8th, 2024 to a school closure for students. Anyone have any questions in regards to, I know you want to add some input.
And I can give
probably
you some
gonna
background. We
discuss.
tried to get on this early in January, or even some discussion in December about it, but I think I made a recommendation in January. And a lot of it is, as you know, the solar eclipse will start here in Fairfield County around 1:55 p.m. on April the 8th, and it'll be over about 4:27. We're at about, I think, 98.8% obscuration. So it'll be definitely noticeable, whether it's cloudy, whether it's bright blue sky. We'll certainly be in quite a bit of a shadow, but not in the area of totality or 100% of the eclipse that you will have just northwest of Columbus. Major concern is that the maximum obscuration will take place right at about 3:13 p.m. That's when we start marching 1,000 elementary students to the buses, to the cars. Having the bus drivers manage the students every day on a normal route is a challenge. To keep your eyes on the road, 50 plus kids behind you, and then to try to manage that at 3:13 in the afternoon. We felt like if we got out at 1:30, we could get our kids home by 2:20, 2:25. That would certainly be before that 3:13 peak. But there's just too much, honestly. The more we continue to look at it and work with EMA, Fairfield County EMA, there's just too many unknowns. We don't expect traffic on Route 33 or 37, according to the Fairfield County EMA, really impacting dismissal or emergency services at that time. But Ohio certainly expects quite a bit of increase in population because we are in that totality area. The last time, Ohio ever experienced anything like this was in 1806. So 218 years ago. The world's a little bit different now. The next time we're going to experience it would be in 2099. There's just too many unknowns, I'll be honest. I look at it as a great learning opportunity to teach science to students, to teach them how to properly how to properly view a solar eclipse safely. And those are things that our teachers will be addressing before the eclipse. And just the management of that day, there's just too many unknowns. A lot of schools around us, it's basically down to us and Liberty Unions waiting to see kind of where we're at. But schools south and east of us, even farther away from totality, have decided to close that day. I'm talking Sheridan, Nelsonville, Logan, Fairfield Union, the entire county. There's 9 school districts, and right now, Liberty Union, they're kind of having this discussion right now too, but they were, they saw value in bringing the kids to school and that particular day and doing a 2-hour early release, but it just seems to be getting harder and harder. Eastland Fairfield Career and Technical Schools, they've shut down. We have kids, over 90 kids that go there, so they'll be closed that day if we were to stay open. Canal, Winchester, Pickerington are closed, Lancaster's closed, Fairfield Union's closed, Amanda, all of Pickaway County closed. And there's some positives to that. The positives is that there's gonna be a lot of activities and things being offered across the state for families to do, and we think we can still obviously provide the instruction about the phenomenon, and also talk to the students about how to properly view a solar eclipse. But honestly, there's too many unknowns, and as we've continued to work through it, I'm recommending that we switch to a closure that particular day. And there's probably no good answer, but there's just a lot of places that have decided to go ahead and shut down. And I have concerns. I have concerns about the unknown, but I also see value in having the kids here. So it's a tough call, and I think this is where I'm at this point. I am looking at some professional development for staff that day on a modified schedule to also allow them to get home with their families early. I'm looking at probably a half day of some, we often hear that we need more collaboration time for departments and teachers to meet. We have a lot of mandates from the state when it comes to professional development, and that fills up our PD schedule where we don't always get to do the things that the teachers really value. And being able to provide some time on that day to do some collaboration, and we still have more science of reading training as part of the budget bill that's in addition to all the dyslexia professional development that our teachers have gone through. So there's some things that we could get a jump on, but I think there's also things that our classified staff can do. Bus drivers can obviously update all seating charts, make sure those are valid for substitutes. Kitchen staff, you could come in, deep clean kitchens this time of year. Technology, obviously they would work on their normal schedule, but providing that professional development time, and it's just not a day off, but it's a day that we can be productive with some things here. I see some benefit in that, so I am making a recommendation at this point that we close on April 8th. Are there any questions?
I think it's probably the right decision. We've talked about it for 3 months, went back and forth, so
Yeah.
better be safe than sorry.
Yep. I'm all for it. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Hahn? Hearing none, may I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Abbott, second by Mr. Bratton. Mr. Bigham?
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mrs. Bender?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes. Number 9, superintendent's recommendations and reports. Mr. Hahn.
Okay, just a few items here. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Bloom-Carroll, going way back, has always had multiple phone numbers for our buildings and things. We've had a 614 area code, and then over the years there was a 740 area code out here, and our phone numbers, fax machines, we've often had duplicate numbers in terms of 614 and 740 that ring into the same location. It's been a convenience thing, but at this point I think everybody dials area codes, and there's honestly over $700 a month that we can save in eliminating that. $8,400 in a year, every dollar counts. And our director of technology has recommended that we eliminate the 614 area code phone numbers and just go to the 740 numbers and keep those. He plans to want to do this in the summer. I just wanted to give you a heads up. We'll update the website, we'll send information out, but it'll be a summer kind of change is what he's targeting right now, but it can save some money for the school district. And then Right to Read Week has been going on. There's been a lot of neat things going on in our buildings, but the elementary school has, obviously, it's really neat to walk down the hallways and see all the different things they're doing with Right to Read Week, and it's really creative. The teachers worked together out there at the elementary school, but on that flexible area up on the stage of the elementary school. They created a Starbucks, kind of like a Starbucks, and the kids could, teachers could sign up to bring their classes in, and the kids could have some drinks and some, cupcakes and that kind of thing. And it was kind of neat to see the kids taking it really serious. They felt like they were at a Starbucks cafe, but just some neat things going on out there, and appreciate all the work that they do, every day. But it was Right to Read Week's a pretty neat thing out there. At the high school, they held High School 101. It's an event to help prepare students and parents for that transition from 8th grade into 9th grade. It's a really good event, talks about different activities, graduation requirements, state testing requirements, planning for college, career pathways, military options, and it was really well attended by our 8th grade students and their parents. The National Honor Society induction ceremonies taking place on Thursday. There are 41 juniors being inducted. They'll be recognized on the board agenda tonight. You're all welcome to stop by if you'd like on Thursday night in the middle school gym at 6:30. And the state ACT administration will take place on March 12th for juniors. As you know, we are required to provide one district-funded or state-funded ACT opportunity, and that will take place tomorrow, actually, for our junior class. The March 4th PD topics, a lot of things, math IXL, some intervention and supplemental materials for math. They're doing a pilot training on that. We continue to have CPS programs come in on March 4th. The letters training for our teachers that are required to meet the dyslexia training. They're continuing with that. Pacing guide work on our curriculum, collaboration meetings, Ohio State test administrator training. Every teacher, every test administrator has to go through a training as well on how to administer state tests. Restorative practices, the middle school and high school, also the CPS programs, START program and Champions program. They're doing a literacy academy. Middle school's looking at Lexia for reading, a reading intervention program. Gifted PD will take place, some AI dealing with artificial intelligence and its impact on education. They're working on pacing guides, state testing training. Same Goal is the platform we use for case management for our special education department, and also adopting that 6 through 12 ELA curriculum. The ELA teachers will be meeting. Some of the things, those are some of the things going on for at our March 4th PD. The winter sports, just congratulations. We had a very successful winter sports season to everybody. Cheerleaders, pep band did a great job. Swim team had a good season. Basketball, wrestling, just a lot of success for our athletes. Wanted to let you know, Ohio High School did approve, the board of directors did approve expanding the tournament divisions in baseball, basketball, soccer, football, and girls volleyball. So rather than having 3 or 4 divisions, they'll be expanded to, similar to football, like we have 7 divisions in football, basically more state champions, better even distribution, mainly impacting the Division I and Division II schools. So that's, I think, probably a good thing. The musical, Cinderella, excited to see that, March 21st through the 23rd. It shows on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I just want to wish the cast and the staff good luck. They're kind of coming down to crunch time and making the final preparations for that, but a lot going on this time of year, and those are some of the updates. Any questions about any of those events or anything else? All right.
No, fine.
All right, let's move on to 9B. Number 1, approve the following chaperones for the middle school Washington, D.C. trip. Randy Crevison, Jennifer Harrison, Barry Hergis, Lisa Ontiveros, Katie Pearden, Leah Smith, Jessica Stortz, Keith Wentz, and Chad Young. Number 2, recognize the 41 juniors to be inducted into the National Honor Society on March 14th, 2024. Be Lance Abel, Molly Barber, Elena Bell, Ryan Bender, Isabella Blouser, Tessa Brooks, Evelyn Brown, Trice Chafin, Charlie Conrad, Sanoa Davis, Meadow Dawson, Ava Gladney, Madison Griffey, Chase Hamilton, Cameron Hartsook, Ethan Hotchula, Hannah Hiley, Henry Hoisington, Carmen Kaut, Madison Lacey, Trayton McGee, Logan Miller, Maxwell Moore, Johan Ness, Garrett Nolan, Caitlin O'Connor, Eliana Perry, Mia Petty, Savannah Phillips, Matthew Plegaman, Thomas Pugh, Carmen Salmons, Emma Sorrell, Braden Spencer, Abigail Starkey, Michael Stevenson, Kyla Tucker, McKenna West, Claire Whitcraft, Savannah Weil, and Caitlin Weinkoop. Congratulations to those students.
Any questions for Mr. Hahn on that section? Hearing none, may I please get a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Bender. Joe, Mr. Joe.
Second?
All right, motion made by Mrs. Bender, second by Mr. Abbott. Mr. Bigham?
Mrs. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Abbott,
Yes.
Mr. Bratton,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
All right, 9C, under personnel. Number 1, approve the substitute list number 8 for March 2024 as submitted by the Fairfield County ESC. Number 2, approve the voluntary transfer of Aaron Ricks from kindergarten teacher to elementary school reading specialist in grades 3 to 5, pending completion of Wilson certification or the Orton Gillingham training, and effective with the 24-25 school year. Number 3, approve the voluntary transfer of Denise Goff from 3.25 hours per day cook to 5 hours per day cook at the elementary school, effective March 12, 2024. Approve the employment of Sydney Burns as a high school, middle school vocational agriculture teacher at step 4 with a master's degree, pending completion of all pre-employment requirements and effective with the 24-25 school year. Number 5, approve the employment of Jennifer Bartley as a bus driver for the 23-24 school year at step 6, effective March 1st, 2024, pending completion of all pre-employment requirements and pending acceptance of agenda item 9E1. Number 6, approve the following request for a pay scale advancement effective March 12, 2024 for Holly Lovelace. Number 7, approve the following classified substitutes for the 23-24 school year, pending timely completion of all pre-employment requirements as presented A through H. Number 8, approve the following request for FMLA leave of absence for up to 60 days as presented A through D. Number 9, approve the following request for an unpaid leave of absence for Stacy Pasternak, May 23rd through the 31st, 2024. Number 10, approve the following request for an unpaid leave or dock day for Megan Gregory and Laura Dobbins on March 8th and April 17th. Number 11, approve the following athletic department supplemental contracts for the 23-24 school year, pending timely completion of all pre-employment requirements as presented A through E. Number 12, approve the following athletic department supplemental contracts for the 24-25 school year, pending timely completion of all pre-employment requirements A through N. Number 13, approve the following athletic department volunteers for the 23-24 school year, pending timely completion of all pre-employment requirements for Colby Vest, middle school baseball, and Amy Call, middle school softball. And number 14, approve the following athletic department volunteers for the 24-25 school year, pending timely completion of all pre-employment requirements as presented A through F. And 15, approve the list, which is in your packet, of the school volunteers for the 23-24 school year.
Drink of water. Any question from Mr. Hahn in regards to those 15 items?
Can you repeat a couple of them?
Yeah, no kidding.
Here.
I'll make the motion.
All right.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bratton, second by Ms. Bender. Mr. Bigham?
Mr. Bratton,
Yes.
Mrs. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Abbott,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
All right, and let's stick with 9C. Number 16, approve the following request for an unpaid leave of absence for Jamie Johnson, April 22nd through the 26th, 2024.
May I please get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bratton, second by Mr. Abbott. Mr. Bigham?
Mr. Abbott,
Yes.
Mr. Bratton,
Yes.
Mrs. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Abstain.
All right. 9D, contracts and agreements. Number 1, approve a master service agreement with Meta Solutions for fiscal services, EMA support, Info Ohio library services, and progress book services effective July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Any questions in regards to this? Hearing none, may I get a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Second, motion made by Mrs. Bender, second by Mr. Bratton. Mr. Brigham?
I'm sorry, Bender,
Bender and then Bratton.
sorry. Mrs. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Bratton,
Yes.
Mr. Abbott,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, 9E, accept the resignation of Wayne Jocelyn, bus driver, effective February 16th, 2024. Number 2, accept the resignation of Robbie Cawthorn, 7th grade baseball coach, effective immediately. Number 3, accept the resignation of Jordan Armentrout, middle school assistant track coach, effective immediately. Number 4, accept the resignation of Victoria Butler, middle school softball coach, effective immediately.
Any questions in regards to these resignations? Hearing none, may I please get a motion?
So moved.
I'll second this. Motion made by Mr. Abbott, second by Mr. Johnson. Mr. Bigham?
Mr. Abbott,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Bratton.
Yes.
All right, Rob,
All
back
right,
to you.
thank you, Mr. Hahn, for all the updates. Number 10, new business. We have none on the agenda tonight. Moving on with number 11, board reports and information. All right, let's see here. We've got facility management. At this time, I mean, there's nothing really to report on. I don't have any real.
We'll have some things actually at the planning session for all of you. Some roof projects, capital projects, some wish list items too on there.
Nothing of major concern on behalf of it right now, so.
Yeah,
In regards to that though, with the roof, I mean, everything came out okay?
we're still working on it. Yeah.
Still,
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the high school's much clearer than the other one. Yeah, so.
all right, perfect, thank you. Personnel labor management, Mr. Abbott, Mr. Bratton?
Nothing further at this time.
Okay. OSBA representative, I mean, at this time, we don't really have anything going on with that. There's a summer, like, meeting that's coming, it's optional for like newcomers and stuff like that if you want to attend. But really just prepping for the fall meeting coming up, you'll start seeing a lot of stuff coming around, but nothing from a legislative perspective. I haven't seen really anything major that has a lot of impact moving forward right now. Policy, Mrs. Bender?
Yeah, we actually just scheduled a meeting for March 26th. There was only one policy update from OSBA, but it's one that we kind of need to get to before the summer.
Okay, so March 26th.
Yeah.
Perfect. Safety, health, and wellness, Mr. Abbott, Mrs. Bender?
Nothing more at this time. We'll have a meeting at the end of the year.
Yeah, May 8th.
May 8th.
May 8th. And finance, Mr. Bratton and I met with Mr. Bigham, and I think we're pretty good on what we're talking about. Mr. Bigham will bring some things to the board next week to discuss. Mr. Bratton, anything else? Nope. All right. B, upcoming PTO Booster Board of Education meetings. Flip the page. On March 12th, we have the middle school PTO at 2:30 here in the Media Center. Also on the 12th, we have the Music Boosters at 6:30 here in the Media Center. On March 20th, our Board of Education meeting at 6 p.m. here in the Media Center. March 28th through the 29th, obviously, we are out for school with spring break. On April 1st, no school. April Fools, we do not have school. On April 2nd, we have the elementary school PTO at 5:30 here in the Media Center. That's BC, yeah, that's at the elementary school Media Center, I'm sorry. On April 8th, the Board of Education meeting, our regular meeting will be here at 6 o'clock. On April 8th, the Athletic Boosters meeting will be at 7 o'clock in the cafeteria. I'm going to go to number 12 to adjourn from regular session and go into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against an employee, official, or student, and matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or state statutes. May I please get a motion?
So So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Abbott, second by Mrs. Bender. Mr. Bingham?
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mrs. Bender?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes. Time is 6:45. Thank you all for coming this evening. If I can take a quick break real quick for you.
Just give them a few minutes.